The role of archery in the Mongol invasions of Japan. In the late 13th century, two archery traditions collided in one of history's most consequential military confrontations. The Mongol Empire, having conquered much of Asia and parts of Europe, set its sights on the island nation of Japan. What followed would be two invasion attempts, where the contrasting archery technologies and techniques of these civilizations would play a pivotal role in determining Japan's fate. This video is sponsored by Archery Warehouse, your go-to destination for both historical and modern archery equipment. Whether you're fascinated by the compact power of Mongolian composite bows or the elegant precision of Japanese yumi, Archery Warehouse offers authentic reproductions that let you experience these historical traditions firsthand. Use code HISTORY10 at checkout to receive 10% off your purchase. The story begins in 1274, when Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan and ruler of the largest contiguous empire in history, launched the first invasion of Japan. The Mongol force consisted of an estimated 23,000 soldiers, with Korean and Chinese conscripts alongside Mongol warriors. Central to their military strategy was the devastating effectiveness of Mongol mounted archers. The Mongol composite bow was a technological marvel of its time. Made from layers of wood, animal horn, and sinew laminated together, these compact weapons could deliver arrows with lethal force at ranges exceeding 300 yards. The distinctive recurve design stored tremendous energy, allowing the relatively small bow to match or exceed the power of much larger weapons. Mongol archers trained from childhood, developing the ability to shoot accurately while riding at full gallop, a skill that had helped them conquer much of the known world. Facing them were the samurai of Japan, armed with their distinctive asymmetrical yumi bows. At over 7 feet in length, the Japanese yumi was one of the world's longest bows, providing impressive power, but requiring very different shooting techniques from the Mongol weapon. Japanese archers excelled at precise, disciplined volleys rather than the mobile shooting tactics of the Mongols. When the Mongol fleet arrived at Hakata Bay in Kyushu in November 1274, the invaders immediately demonstrated archery tactics that the Japanese had never encountered. Rather than engaging in the traditional one-on-one combat favored by samurai, Mongol archers fought in coordinated units, releasing devastating volleys of arrows simultaneously. Contemporary Japanese accounts described these tactics with alarm, noting how Mongol archers would advance behind large wooden shields, making it difficult for Japanese archers to effectively target them. Even more shocking to the Japanese defenders were the Mongols' poisoned arrows. The use of poison was considered dishonorable in Japanese warfare, but the Mongols employed toxic compounds on their arrowheads to ensure that even non-fatal wounds could become lethal. Japanese accounts describe warriors dying from seemingly minor arrow injuries, creating a psychological impact beyond the physical casualties. The technological differences extended beyond technique. The Mongols also employed explosive-tipped arrows, an early form of gunpowder weapon that was completely unknown to the Japanese at this time. These arrows could cause fire and confusion when they struck Japanese positions, representing an early use of incendiary weapons in naval warfare. Despite their initial shock at these unfamiliar tactics, the Japanese defenders adapted quickly. Samurai archers used their knowledge of the terrain to conduct hit-and-run attacks, avoiding the mass Mongol formations when possible. The yumi's extreme range allowed Japanese archers to target Mongol commanders from distances that helped to mitigate the enemy's numerical advantage. As the first day of battle ended with the Mongols returning to their ships for the night, a fortuitous typhoon arose, wreaking havoc on the invasion fleet. The Mongols, fearing the loss of more ships, retreated back to the mainland, giving the Japanese a temporary reprieve. This first invasion attempt had profound implications for Japanese military development. Recognizing the effectiveness of Mongol archery tactics, Japanese warriors began to adapt. The traditional practice of announcing one's name and lineage before individual combat was abandoned as impractical against the Mongol style of warfare. Japanese leaders ordered the construction of defensive walls around vulnerable coastal areas, specifically designed to counter the Mongol archery advantage by providing cover for defending archers. In 1281, Kublai Khan launched a second much larger invasion force estimated at over 140,000 men aboard 4,400 ships. Once again, Mongol archery played a central role in the battle strategy. Having learned from the first invasion, the Japanese were better prepared. Their defensive walls prevented the Mongol archers from establishing secure beachheads, while Japanese archers used their superior knowledge of local conditions to harass the invading forces. For weeks, the two forces engaged in archery duels along the coastline. Japanese samurai launched daring nighttime raids on Mongol ships, using their bows to pick off sentries before boarding vessels. The Mongols countered with their explosive arrows and coordinated volleys, creating a stalemate as neither side could gain a decisive advantage. Then, in a twist of fate that would alter Japanese history and spiritual beliefs for centuries, another typhoon struck. A massive storm that Japanese chroniclers later called the kamikaze, or divine wind. The storm destroyed much of the Mongol fleet, effectively ending the invasion threat. The role of archery in these invasions had lasting impacts on both cultures. For the Japanese, exposure to Mongol archery tactics accelerated military innovations and challenged traditional samurai combat ideals. Japanese warriors began adopting more practical, less ritualized approaches to warfare. The invasions also contributed to the development of Japanese firearms after they observed the effectiveness of the Mongols' explosive-tipped arrows. For the Mongols, the failed invasions represented a rare military defeat, one where their usually decisive archery advantage was neutralized by a combination of geography, Japanese adaptability, and environmental factors. The financial and military cost of these failed invasions would contribute to economic strains on the Yuan dynasty, which Kublai Khan had established in China. Archaeological excavations at the invasion sites have revealed numerous arrowheads from both cultures, providing physical evidence of this archery clash. Mongol arrowheads were typically heavier and designed for armor penetration, while Japanese examples show the influence of their hunting traditions, with varied designs for different purposes. What makes this historical episode so fascinating is that it represents more than just a military engagement. It was a collision between two highly developed archery traditions, each shaped by their cultural values and environmental conditions. The Mongol approach emphasized mobility, power, and coordination, reflecting their steppe origins and conquest-oriented society. The Japanese tradition valued precision, discipline, and individual skill, reflecting their island geography and warrior code. Though the Mongol invasions ultimately failed, they forever changed Japanese military culture, pushing archery and other martial arts to evolve beyond their ceremonial origins toward more practical applications. The psychological impact of successfully repelling the world's greatest military power also contributed to Japan's cultural identity and sense of divine protection that would influence its outlook for centuries. In the end, this clash of archery traditions reminds us that technology alone doesn't determine military outcomes. The context in which weapons are used, the terrain, the tactics, the training of warriors, and even the weather, all play crucial roles in determining how military engagements unfold. The Mongol invasions of Japan stand as a powerful example of how archery, as both technology and cultural practice, shaped one of history's most significant turning points.